Chelo Alonso was an actress whose name rarely comes up in conversation these days, but we firmly believe she deserves a lot more attention than she's been given. Chelo's acting career led to her first becoming a star in Italian cinema, and by the 1960s, she was one of the most prominent cult film heroines and sex symbols in the United States. Throughout her time in the entertainment industry, Chelo made quite a name for herself. She faced many obstacles due to racism and stereotypes, but she'll forever be remembered as the original Cuban Bombshell. Keep watching to learn all about her fascinating life story. From Cuba to Italy to Hollywood. Chelo Alonso grew up in Camagüey, Cuba. Her father was a full-blooded Cuban, while her mother was of Mexican descent. As a child, Chelo had a passion for dance and theater, and she initially gained recognition in her home country for her dancing ability, becoming quite the sensation of sorts at Cuba's National Theater in Havana. Before leaving Cuba, Chelo got married to her first husband, although we don't know his name. In a later interview, Chelo revealed her husband forbid her to dance. Since that was her biggest passion, she decided to leave him. At first, she went to Singapore, where she met Prince Abdel Aman. He was so infatuated with her, he proposed marriage. Even though she was divorced from her first husband, Singapore law forbid princes from marrying a divorced woman. Not long after that, she emerged as one of the hottest new exotic dancing talents at the Folies Bergère in Paris, France. That's around the time she began getting billed as the new Josephine Baker, seeing as how she too had once performed and rose to fame at the Folies. Honing in on her so-called exotic heritage, promoters pitched her as the Cuban H-bomb. When performing on stage, she would mix Afro-Cuban rhythms from her home country with the style of dance called bump and grind. Chelo first gained international attention after appearing in the 1959 film Nel Segno di Roma, or Sheba and the Gladiator as it's known in English. The film starred George Marshall and Anita Ekberg, and while it might not have been the biggest film that year, because of her exotic dance numbers, her image and name received more prominent billing on publicity posters than either of her two co-stars. Anita Ekberg, in particular, was dismayed by this choice, especially since she was one of the leads. The majority of films Chelo appeared in were adventure flicks, in the style of the Italian film Hercules. Hercules, starring Steve Reeves, was a big hit with audiences captivated by the new genre of film. It helped pave the way for many films that would attempt to emulate it. These sorts of movies required exotic talent, and Chelo's dark complexion and undeniable beauty seemed to fit the bill perfectly. She went on to star alongside Steve Reeves in 1959's Goliath and the Barbarians and 1960's Morgone il Pirata. Goliath and the Barbarians earned Chelo the coveted Italian cinema's Female Discovery Award, leading her to get more international attention. She spent the next couple of years appearing in other adventure films, such as Terror of the Red Mask, which took place in the 1700s and involved a strange castle. In Pirate and the Slave Girl, Chelo played Princess Miriam. She also appeared in the film Attack of the Moors. Some of Chelo's best scenes were the ones in which she would dance, but she also became famous for playing characters with fiery tempers. Her fans loved watching her as she would get enraged at some unsuspecting hero. Around this time, she refused Che Guevara's invitation to return back to Havana during the revolution. Instead, she remained in Rome, where her acting career was still thriving. In 1960, Chelo appeared in the comedy Gaston, starring alongside two Italian cinema giants, Vittorio De Sica and Alberto Sordi. A year later, she delivered a noteworthy performance in For the Huns. In that film, she played the courageous Queen of the Tartars, Tanya. Before we tell you more, be sure to give this video a like and subscribe to FactsVerse if you haven't already. A second marriage and the birth of her son. While making Morgone il Pirata in 1960, Chelo fell in love with and married a man named Aldo Pomiglia, a producer and production manager who helped make the film. In 1961, Chelo gave yet another memorable performance in Atlas Against the Cyclops. In that film, she portrayed Queen Capys alongside Gordon Mitchell. After working together on the 1962 film Quattro Noti con Alba, Chelo and Aldo had one son whom they named Aldino Pomiglia. After giving birth to her first child, Chelo took a break from acting for a while. She wanted to make sure she gave her new son all the love and attention he deserved. But she had no intention of retiring from acting entirely. While taking a break, Chelo recorded a couple of songs and even briefly hosted a cooking show in which the public could watch her prepare traditional Cuban meals. While visiting her husband in Spain in 1965, where he was working as a production supervisor for the film The Good, the Bad, and the Ugly, Chelo made a brief, albeit uncredited, mute cameo. Aldo then executive produced the film that proved to be her big comeback. Performing alongside her fellow countryman Thomas Milian, Chelo appeared in the cult western film Cory Uomo Cory as the character Dolores. Film buffs almost universally agree the film role was the best of her career. Chelo made a brief appearance once again, playing a character named Dolores in another cult western film called La Notte de Serpenti, aka Nest of Vipers. After production wrapped up on that movie, Chelo abandoned the world of cinema to focus on Italian television. In 1986, Chelo was heartbroken when her husband passed away. She moved to the city of Siena in Tuscany, where she retired from acting for good and started focusing on 2 projects. One of these was operating a cat breeding business with her son Aldino, while the other was managing a 4-star hotel that she opened at a small farm in the Italian region of Senese. For the remainder of her life, Chelo largely stayed out of the spotlight, but she did occasionally give interviews with magazines where she would reminisce about her life in the entertainment industry. In 1991, she gave an interview with People magazine in which she revealed her cousin Dominique Alonso was preparing a biography about her with the title Central Lugareño. It's unclear what came of that project. After living a long and productive life, Chelo Alonso passed away in Mentana, Italy at age 85 on February 20th, 2019. Now it's time to hear from you. Are you a fan of Chelo Alonso? What's your favorite role of hers? Let us know in the comment section below. And before you go, make sure you give this video a like and subscribe to Facts First if you haven't already. Click the bell icon to stay updated on all our latest content.
By the way, if you haven't joined Facts First as a member yet, be sure to look below this video and click the Join button. By becoming a paid member of Facts First, you'll get access to exclusive video content that you won't find anywhere else. This includes some of our more mature content that isn't suitable for public audiences, which includes topics like Hollywood actresses who posed for Playboy and some of the steamiest moments in movie history. Plus, you can enjoy these videos completely ad-free. Our biggest fans will notice they also get badges next to their name when they leave comments on our videos. We pay special attention to comments from our members, and so do other viewers. So if you want exclusive content from Facts First or inside access to discussions with other community members, click the Join button to get started for just $4.99. There are hours of members-only videos waiting for you, with new videos added every month. And we're actively working on bringing even more features to help fans like you connect with other members and get more of your favorite content. Just click Join, and we'll see you inside the membership tab.